sit down with Dwight. Who are you?
Paramount's Tulsa King revolves around the fictional character of expelled New York gangster Dwight the General Manfredi, Sylvester Stallone, whose life bears some resemblance to the sinister past of the mafia. Starting in 2022, Tulsa King has rapidly been among the most watched and excellent shows on Paramount+. The show's popularity has been so strong that the confirmation of Tulsa King Season 3 preceded the release of Season 2. The fresh idea of a New York gangster seizing control of an Oklahoma City helps to explain some of its appeal, but its actual roots are more grounded than they initially appear. From The Godfather to Goodfellas, there have been many gangster films influenced by actual events. Most gangster tales are rather loosely based on fact. Tulsa King is no exception. Although there hasn't been a New York mafia capo who visited Tulsa and seized control, the concept of Dwight originates from a real-life gangster legacy. Real-life inspirations from Tulsa King conjure one of the darkest eras and gang conflicts in the history of the Sicilian mafia. Though the show is based on a real mob family, Tulsa King isn't a true story. Tulsa King primarily relies on the belief that Dwight embodies the traditional methods of the mafia. Chicky Invernizzi, the soon-to-be Don of the New York mob, clashed with Dwight due to his more conventional view of the mafia and his belief that his quiet should have rewarded him. Chicky's concerns about Dwight ultimately led him to exile the capo to Tulsa in order to establish a new organization in the West. Dwight is not solely based on a single individual, but his exile to Tulsa bears a striking resemblance to the expulsion of the Inzerillo crime family from Palermo, Italy. The Inzerillo crime family justified their actions. People often refer to the Inzerillo crime family as the mafia aristocracy of Palermo, despite their fall from grace as revealed by La Repubblica. While the Gambino crime family dominated New York in the 1980s, the city of Palermo was under the merciless Salvatore Riina, sometimes known as the Boss of Bosses and the Beast. Authorities held Riina accountable for thousands of deaths. Salvatore Riina and the Corleonesi group of the Sicilian mafia almost eradicated the Inzerillo family and its other rivals across the 1970s and early 1980s in a successful drive to seize the mafia's leadership. After the Inzerillo's American allies, including the Gambinos, intervened on the family's behalf, Salvatore Riina let the Inzerillos flee his rule over the Sicilian underworld. Riina insisted they leave and never set foot on Sicilian territory ever again, even as he let them live. At least until the Gambino crime family, the actual inspiration behind Goodfellas, dropped from power in the mid-80s. The banished Inzerillos lived their lives in exile in New York, generally content with staying under the radar under the protection of the strong New York mafia. Recently, the Inzerillos have initiated a new struggle for dominance in Sicily and New York. Some surviving Inzerillos and Gambinos, most notably Tommaso and Francesco Inzerillo, returned to Palermo in the 2000s via CBS News. However, American and Italian law enforcement concurrently detained 15 members of the Inzerillo and Gambino families in 2019 during a combined operation. What the Inzerillo family has done since then, how many members are still active, or how engaged they are with either the New York or Italian mafias is unknown. How much of the Inzerillo crime family has been tailored for Tulsa King? Though Dwight's narrative and Tulsa King's premise recall the history of the Inzerillo crime family, the show has also veered greatly from that. Tulsa King mostly utilized the concept of banishment as the plot point. But Dwight's expulsion from Tulsa was hardly more than Chicky's feudal action, and he was rather readily able to become a real kingpin. In contrast, the Inzerillo family never gained the same level of recognition in New York as Dwight has in Oklahoma. Their expulsion came as a form of charity after the family leader's assassination. The banishment of the Inzerillos also came with a very literal threat. A return to Sicily, while Salvatore Riina was still in charge, would mean certain death. Conversely, Dwight came back to New York multiple times in Tulsa King Season 1, although Chicky ultimately tried to have him assassinated. Chicky also bears a slight resemblance to Riina, as he has not yet developed into a significant threat to anyone other than his father. Tulsa King is essentially a completely fictional narrative, following the history of the Inzerillo family solely in concept. However, it's possible that history will have a greater influence on future Tulsa King episodes. Following the conclusion of Tulsa King Season 2, Episode 4, it appears that the New York mafia families would undergo a power shift, akin to Riina's capture of Sicily. To challenge the Invernizzis, Dwight could potentially emulate the actions of the Inzerillo family by returning to New York. Tulsa King will have whatever future fictional narratives call for, but factual inspiration for the show will always exist.